Election Day in Pennsylvania. We're across the country, but in Pennsylvania, it's a municipal election cycle, which is important because it's where we elect voters who represent us typically closer to home. There are some statewide offices on the ballot, as you might see, for judicial offices and justices of the Supreme Court for retention, but otherwise, depending on your county, you might see district attorney, you might see school board, or mayor, or township supervisor, or any number of other offices. Typically, as you know, there's lower voter turnout in this election cycle, unfortunately. We want high voter turnout in every election cycle, and there's really no good reason for it because these offices are incredibly important. Ensuring that our elections in Pennsylvania are free and fair and safe and secure is of paramount importance to the Shapiro administration, and I encourage all registered voters to make a plan now for how they're going to vote tomorrow if they have not already voted by mail. So I have a couple of important reminders as we go into Election Day. As of this morning, more than 1.13 million mail ballots have been sent to registered voters who requested them and had their application to vote by mail approved. So far, that's about 73% return rate, or approximately 828,000 voters who have already returned their ballot. Voters have until 8 p.m. tomorrow to return their mail ballot. So just to talk about mail ballots for a moment, they have to be in the hands of their county boards of elections by 8 p.m. on Election Day. You can't just put it in the mail tomorrow or it won't be counted. It has to be in the hands of the Board of Elections by then. So at this point, make sure to hand deliver it, whether it's at your county board of elections or a satellite office if your county provides them, or a secure Dropbox location provided by your Board of Elections so that your vote will be counted. If you have your mail ballot but haven't yet completed it before tomorrow, the instructions are very clear in terms of filling in the ovals completely, checking both sides of the ballot, because sometimes there are offices on both sides, placing that ballot in a return envelope and that yellow return envelope in an outer envelope, and completing it correctly before you return it. For voting in person, polls in Pennsylvania are open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. So if you're in line at your local precinct polling place by 8 p.m., you should stay there and you'll be allowed to vote. If you requested a mail ballot but haven't returned it, there are a couple of options. You can either, as I mentioned before, return it to your county board of elections or satellite office or Dropbox location, or you can bring it with you to the polling place and essentially surrender it to the Board of Elections for them to void it so that you can vote on the voting system available at your local polling place. If you don't have it with you, or you requested it and it never reached you, or you went to work that morning and you left it on your kitchen table at home and are voting on your way home, you also have the option to show up at your polling place and vote by a provisional ballot. So you would appear in the poll book and they would provide you with a provisional ballot that you would complete. All in-person voting ballots, all mail ballots, all provisional ballots, regardless of whether a race is close or not, are counted in every election, provided they're executed properly, as in you've signed it when it comes to mail ballots or anything like that. So voters have some important rights at the polls that I'd like to remind people of, and that is voter intimidation and coercion in any form are illegal. All voters, including those with a disability or elderly voters or voters with limited English proficiency, are guaranteed the right to vote privately and independently and can seek assistance in doing so, provided it's not, there's a couple of people who are prohibited from assisting you, but it's very limited. It's the Board of Elections at that precinct. It's your union representative or your employer can't assist you. But otherwise, you can seek assistance from others if you need it. Any voter who believes that they've seen or experienced intimidation or harassment should immediately contact their district attorney's office let the judge of election or let the judge of elections know at that polling place. Reach out to their county election office, or can also reach out to the Pennsylvania Department of State's year-round hotline, which is 1-877-VOTES-PA, VOTES-PA, or 1-877-868-3772. And we have that service available in a great number of languages. Voters can also find pretty much any information that they could ever need at vote.pa.gov, which is our website. After the polls close, you can go to our website for election results and returns as they come in from the counties. It'll be broken down by county and race and method of voting. And that elections website is electionreturns.pa.gov. One word, electionreturns.pa.gov. And please remember, it takes time to count millions of ballots at the county level, especially in Pennsylvania, where they cannot begin processing mail-in ballots until 7 a.m. on election morning. Dedicated county election officials will spend days making sure that this process is completed and that every eligible vote will be counted and counted correctly. And these public servants deserve our respect, and they deserve our patience as they fulfill their duties and sacred responsibility to count voters' votes. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have at this time.
Do you have any concerns? It is typically, as you said, a low turnout election. Do you have any concerns as on the day before?
Any concerns
Regarding the election
at this point? You know, we've been working very closely with our counties. We've seen a lot of turnover in the past that we've talked about. Our team at the Department of State has put together a training unit to make sure that new election administrators are prepared for sending out mail-in ballots and prepared for Election Day. We really haven't seen any significant issues as of this point, and I think that's a reflection of not just how dedicated our county election officials are, but also the hard work of the Department of State in fulfilling its important responsibility, not just oversight, but every bit as important and a supporting role for our county partners.
What message do you want to give to Pennsylvanians who may think that this isn't an important election and that they don't have to come out and vote?
You know, people involved in election administration always say every election is important, but they always say it because it is important. It is every bit as important as a presidential election race or a statewide race for any other office. Again, these are the people that you're selecting to represent you who have a closer impact to home than many other races. And they deserve, I think, your participation. And it's important that you select people who represent you best in every election, whether it's a national election or a municipal election like this one.
And how confident should Pennsylvania voters feel in security and accuracy when it comes to this year's election?
They should feel confident. In Pennsylvania, every voter, whether they vote by mail or vote at their polling place, votes using a paper ballot, whether it's hand-marked or making a selection on a ballot marking device that the voter gets to review prior to casting that vote, or obviously voting by mail. There's a paper record of every vote that's cast. Now, no election official knows how anyone individually voted, but they do have a record of every ballot that is cast that's used in 2 audits after every election in Pennsylvania to ensure that the tabulation of those results are accurate.
Do you have an opinion on all the money that's been spent on the retention election, which are normally much quote-unquote sleepier affairs, and even last night President Trump urged people to vote no and suggested that those justices, quote, interfered in the 2020 election?
Well, given the volume of money that's spent, it can tend to contribute to increased voter turnout. And voter turnout being increased is always a positive thing. It's important that voters hear every side of every issue, and when there's more advertising and everything else, you can make sure that no one makes it through tomorrow without remembering that it's Election Day, and that's important.
Have there been any recent court cases, either Superior or Commonwealth, or Supreme that's changed some of our election protocol? I know there was a lot happening last year. Is there anything that people need to be aware of that's happened this year?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah, some months ago, there was a court case that determined at a very high level that ballots that are undated or misdated by the voter when they vote by mail should be counted. Now, the voter is still required to sign the outer declaration envelope when it's returned, but as we see frequently with elderly voters, well, not frequently, it happens infrequently, but it happens, when it does happen, it happens frequently among elderly voters where they will sign it and write their birthday, for example. Department of State in the past 2 years really did a lot of work working with our county partners, working with design experts and all the rest to completely revamp the appearance of the declaration envelope. And it has shown in recent elections to significantly drive down the number of ballots that are rejected because a voter made a mistake. There weren't, again, a lot of votes that were rejected that way, but every vote is precious and wouldn't want one eligible vote cast by an eligible voter on or before Election Day and returned to the Board of Elections like it should be to not be counted. So we've worked closely, as I said, to make it more user-friendly. And that court case means that ballots that are not dated or misdated, ballot envelopes that are not dated or misdated will be counted in this election.
And do you have any update on the SURE system, the revitalization revamp that's going on with that?
Yes, we're working closely with our modernization experts and with our vendor to stand up a new system as quickly as we can, but it's really not been a matter of waiting around until that new system is ready to go. We've worked closely with other departments and also with our current vendor to make sure the SURE system is prepared just as it was for the presidential election last year, to make sure that it's prepared for this election as well and gets us through until a new system is brought online.
Do we have an estimate if that new system will be ready for 2026 midterms?
I can't really speak to that right now.
Yes, Mark. Just to reiterate, ballots without a date on the return envelope, mail-in ballots without a date on the return envelope or with a wrong date are to be counted in this election, and counties have been advised to do that.
That's right. Every county is required to count mail-in ballots even if a voter did not hand date or misdated, like wrote their birthday, on that outer declaration envelope. When that occurs, it's not like the Board of Elections, well, I shouldn't say a double negative. The Board of Elections knows when that ballot was returned. They know it was returned by 8 p.m. on Election Day, and they've time-stamped it. So that date really has no material impact on whether the voter returned that ballot in time or not. If the voter completed it and wrote January 6, 1947, that should not suggest the ballot was cast on January 6, 1947. So they time-stamp them when they arrive and make sure that only timely returned ballots are counted.
And that's because of a Third Circuit decision?
Correct.
Is there any requirement for those ballots to have a provisional ballot that come in instead, or it's just they have the incorrect date, they're still counted?
Yeah, if there's an incorrect or if the voter did not add their, again, they're required to sign it, but if they did not add the date or they misdated it, then that mail-in ballot will be counted. And that's something we've advocated for. I know in my experience and in all the other counties who have testified, they don't use that date for any purpose whatsoever, except reviewing it, resulting in voters having their ballot not be counted. Again, this happens extremely infrequently, but every ballot is precious, every vote is precious, and we don't want any vote cast by an eligible voter on or before Election Day to not be counted. So we're very happy with that court decision. Okay, thank you all, and thanks for the important role that you all play in making sure our voters are educated about elections and about the rules and everything that's required. It is not complicated. It is not a difficult process. and we want everyone to take advantage of it. So I just want to say, on or off the record, that I'm very grateful for all the work that you're doing.